When I first saw it, I thought that this was a US-made, very advanced next-generation fighter, and in fact that this would explain all the UFO sightings. It was only later to find out that that wasn't the case.
The first time people saw it, they thought it must be some secret American fighter jet, a prototype so advanced it explained every UFO sighting of the past 50 years. But then reality hit. What they were looking at wasn't the size of a jet. It wasn't even the size of a car. It was barely bigger than a basketball. And yet, it was doing the impossible. When Bob Lazar described an alien reactor in 1989, the world laughed. Now, 36 years later, a mysterious metallic sphere has crashed in Colombia. And suddenly, nobody's laughing anymore. Because what scientists discovered inside that sphere changes everything we thought we knew. About technology, about physics, and maybe about our place in the universe. March 2025. In the small Colombian town of Buga, residents watched in shock as a smooth metallic ball zigzagged across the sky. It stopped dead mid-air, shifted direction instantly, then dropped like a stone, slamming into a field with a thud that shook the ground. A local named David Vez was out metal detecting when he stumbled across the crash site. What he found became one of the strangest objects ever recorded. Sitting in a perfect circle of dead grass was a flawless silver sphere, about 20 inches across. It gleamed like polished steel. But when Vez tried to lift it, something was wrong. It weighed almost nothing, barely 4 or 5 pounds, lighter than a grocery bag of sugar. Yet within weeks of being stored by scientists, the same object suddenly weighed 22 pounds. Objects don't just gain mass by sitting on a shelf, but this one did. And that was only the beginning. Tests at Mexico's National Autonomous University left researchers stunned. The sphere could reduce its own apparent weight by exactly 81%. Wherever it landed, vegetation died instantly. The soil was sterilized, drained of moisture. Months later, nothing would grow in that circle. X-ray scans revealed no seams, no welds, no joints. It was a perfect, continuous shell, as if it had been grown instead of built. Then came the inside. Imaging showed a central chip-like core surrounded by 16 to 18 smaller spheres, all arranged in a perfect geometric pattern. A network of 52 fiber-like filaments linked them together, like some kind of alien nervous system. Not ordinary fiber optics either. These filaments were made of unknown material, capable, some researchers believe, of handling quantum communication. Meaning the sphere might not just be a piece of hardware. It might be transmitting. Right now. All of this sounded eerily familiar. Back in 1989, a man named Bob Lazar claimed he'd worked at a secret facility near Area 51, reverse engineering alien craft. His story was laughed off as science fiction, but the details, they're hard to ignore now. Lazar described a reactor about 18 inches across. The Buga sphere, 20 inches. Lazar said the reactor was seamless, like wax poured into a mold. The Buga sphere is exactly that. No joins, no rivets, no bolts. Lazar claimed the core was powered by element 115, surrounded by smaller spherical components in a precise arrangement. The Buga sphere contains a core with smaller spheres surrounding it in geometric order. Lazar said the craft could manipulate gravity, reducing its own mass to nearly nothing. The Buga sphere literally reduced its weight by 81%. For decades, Lazar was dismissed as delusional. Scientists said element 115 doesn't even exist. Then in 2003, physicists created it in a lab and named it moscovium. It was unstable, nothing like Lazar's stable fuel claim. But still, one more piece of his puzzle was real. And now, a real-world object with impossible weight shifting, seamless construction, and gravity-bending features has appeared. Coincidence? Or confirmation? It would be easy to dismiss the Buga sphere as a one-off, but it isn't. The Pentagon has already admitted that many unidentified anomalous phenomena are metallic orbs. In 2016, the U.S. military released footage of the so-called Mosul orb, a shiny sphere caught on drone video hovering over a rock with no visible propulsion. In the UK, commercial pilots have reported glowing orbs pacing their aircraft at impossible speeds. Over Mexico, Argentina, and across South America, sightings of metallic balls have exploded in recent years. The most famous case before Buga? The Betz Mystery Sphere, found in Florida in 1974. That orb was also seamless, also contained smaller masses inside, and was reported to roll on its own and emit strange tones. Over and over, the same object, the same behavior. This isn't random space junk. This looks coordinated. Just when researchers thought they had the Buga sphere figured out, it revealed something far stranger. Dr. Elena Vasquez, analyzing the surface with lasers, noticed scratches and scuffs, slowly disappearing. The sphere was repairing itself at the atomic level, a material that heals itself, reorganizing its molecular bonds like living tissue. But what she found next was jaw-dropping. The metal contained isotopic ratios not found on Earth. And when those ratios were mapped out, they weren't random. They formed a sequence. Prime numbers. A mathematical fingerprint, etched into the very atoms of the sphere. When decoded, the sequence pointed to a set of coordinates, not on Earth, but in space. 37 light-years away, in the constellation Reticulum. The exact star system Bob Lazar claimed the alien craft had come from. At that point, even skeptics had to admit, coincidence was no longer a satisfying answer. Every feature of the Buga sphere breaks what we think we know about physics. Weight that shifts by 80%, violating Newton's laws. A surface that self-heals at the atomic level. A seamless structure, as if grown, not built. Fibers that may enable quantum communication. Gravity manipulation, just as Lazar described. One MIT physicist proposed the sphere generates a localized gravitational distortion, a bubble of altered gravity around itself. In plain terms, it bends space just enough to cancel mass. If that's true, the implications are staggering. Space travel without rockets. Clean, limitless energy. Materials that never degrade. A civilization with this technology would be centuries, maybe millennia, ahead of us. So what are we dealing with? A probe? A surveillance device? A seed of technology left behind? If the Buga sphere is transmitting via quantum communication, it could be sharing data about Earth in real time with whoever, or whatever, built it. Every measurement, every interaction, instantaneously. And if it was meant to be found, then this isn't just discovery. It's disclosure. The geopolitical consequences are enormous. Any nation that cracks this technology gains an insurmountable edge. That may explain why governments are suddenly more open about UFOs, not to admit weakness, but to prepare the public. And the coordinates baked into its atoms, that's a message, a signature, a calling card. Not only are we not alone, they've been watching. After months of study, researchers reached a chilling consensus. The isotopic pattern was deliberate. The coordinates weren't random. The technology wasn't explainable by current science. The Buga sphere is the closest thing to proof of alien intelligence humanity has ever touched. And Bob Lazar, the man once mocked for wild claims, now has an object in his corner that matches his testimony with impossible precision. Maybe he wasn't delusional. Maybe he was decades ahead of us, because he'd seen it before. So here we are, on the edge of something bigger than ourselves, a seamless metallic orb in a Colombian field, whispering prime numbers across the stars, pointing us toward reticulum. And maybe, just maybe, telling us we're not the only ones watching. What do you think? Is the Buga sphere the vindication of Bob Lazar's story, or just the strangest coincidence in history? And if it really is alien technology, what happens when we finally learn how to use it? Let us know in the comments.